Lifeonaire. I am coming back to you now with another session, and right now we're going to be talking about negotiating. There's all kinds of different things that you can go and courses you can take, books you can read dealing with negotiating, and there are some really basic negotiating techniques that we can all learn from. Inherently, many of us learn how to negotiate just as a young kid with our parents trying to get the things that we want, and so we all have a little bit of that in us. I know that there's a lot of people say, well, I don't know how to negotiate, but I can tell you, if you have children, look at your kids, they know how to, and you probably do too. But what I'm going to share with you are just some real world practical techniques to really help you out with your negotiating and to understand why we do these things and why we do it the way that we do. Negotiating takes practice. I was horrible at it. Taking phone calls from people, I really didn't know what I was doing. I would sort of get tongue-tied. I would fumble around, and I didn't do a good job. But over time, it was something that all of a sudden clicked, and I understood. And that is, the more that I started understanding the business, the better of a negotiator that I became. You see, when I didn't understand the business, I didn't realize what I was trying to get at on the phone. I was literally trying to just get information about a house. You know, today when I do get a phone call from somebody, I really don't care about their house. I want to know their situation. I want to know how motivated they are. I really want to hear them say things like, I am desperate. I need to sell this house. That's what I'm looking for. And so when I sit there and I ask them questions, if I say, well, tell me a little bit about your house, that's just to get them talking, because at the end of the day, that's the least important thing at this time. Yeah, the house does matter if whether I'm going to buy it. But what's most important to me is, are they motivated? And so I need to get to that part of it. And once you understand that, you can become a better negotiator. If you think it's all about the house and how many garages it has or things like that, you're missing the boat still, because that really doesn't matter. And I'm going to share some of that with you. What's important, because you need to be able to move quickly. When you do find a good deal, you can't be slow with it. You know, there's this old saying that you can't steal in slow motion. You know, we buy houses really cheap, and when houses are cheap, you better get it real quickly, because if you don't, somebody else is going to. And the only way that you can move quickly is to have a good idea of the values in the neighborhoods that you're working. This is why it's important to stay focused on certain areas so that you can become intimately familiar with those areas and that you can know the values. If you don't know the values, you can't move quickly on any property, because you've got to back off from it, go take some time to do some research, determine what the value of a house is and the neighborhood, and do your homework. And in the time that you're doing your homework, somebody who knows what they're doing might actually buy the house. So you've got to be careful with that. Know your values so that you can move quickly. At least have a general idea of what the values are in a particular neighborhood, so that you are able to have an intelligent conversation with a seller. There's nothing wrong. I mean, you've got to learn it as you go. Don't feel bad if you're just getting started out and you don't know it. But ultimately, it's really helpful as you start to determine what the values are in a neighborhood and knowing what it is that you can pay so that you can begin to move quickly. Your personality is going to really factor into the negotiating here. I shared with you, I mean, I don't consider myself to be an outgoing person. I mean, if I show up at a party or I'm in a big meeting, I'm not going to be the guy who's just walking up to everybody and shaking their hand and introducing myself. I tend to just pull off to the side. I don't mind talking to people if they approach me, but I'm not really that outgoing person who's going to make that happen. And so with that in mind, I also prefer not to sit down at kitchen tables with people and hear their situations and to negotiate with them at their kitchen table. I can do that, but I prefer not to. And so for me, the number one thing that I wanted to do was try to put somebody in between me and the seller. And this is where I like the MLS. First of all, the MLS was free. I didn't have to pay anything. There was tons of properties on the MLS. All I had to do was go there and begin to start making offers. But by having that buffer between me and someone else, I could do that. Now, I'm also going to be talking about negotiating directly with sellers. And I want you to just keep these two words in mind: suggestive offers. We'll be talking about that here in just a moment. But when I'm talking to a seller on the telephone, and there is no buffer between me and them, and I now have to negotiate with them, I want you to just imagine this scenario. If somebody calls me up and I know the neighborhood, and it's a $150,000 neighborhood, and I need to buy houses in that neighborhood for somewhere in the $50,000 to $100,000 range, depending upon the condition of the home, some other factors, but 130, I'm not buying the house. 140, I'm not buying the house. 120, I'm probably not buying it. Even at 110, it's probably more than what I can pay in that $150,000 neighborhood. But I do know that 50 to 100, if the house is in really good shape, I can pay about 100, go in there, do a little bit of work, and I can turn around, put it on the market at 150. If it needs a lot of work, I'm probably gonna have to buy it closer to $50,000. I know my sweet spot for that neighborhood. It's $50,000 to $100,000. So think of it this way for just a moment. Somebody calls me up and I ask them, well, how much are you asking for your house? And they sit here and they tell me, well, they want 140 for it. If I were to just come on out and offer them $60,000, I'm probably going to make them angry. They're not going to want to talk to me. And they might even hang up on me, call me a few choice words before they hang up on me. And just put yourself in that person's shoes for a moment. If you're asking 140, and after asking a bunch of questions, I determined that I can pay 60, and I just throw out an offer of 60 to you, you would get pretty upset with me. You were not prepped, you were not ready for that. And we're going to talk about how do we get people there without doing that. So I do firmly believe in negotiating everything before you visit the house. I don't ever go out to a house without knowing what I can buy that house for. I'm not going to waste my time going out to houses and looking at houses that I have no opportunity to buy, that there isn't a deal there. I only show up and go out and look at houses that I know that I can make the deal work because it's already been negotiated. So in the case of a seller who's got something like that, I want to just take that scenario for a moment and play here with me. The seller is sitting there telling me that they want $140,000 for their house, and this is an area where I got to pay 50 to 100. That's where I need to be. We're way off. I'm asking them some questions about their house. Well, what condition is the home in? What kind of work does it need? And based off of that, I know if I'm closer to 50 or if I'm closer to 100. If the house doesn't need that much, maybe I'm 80 to 100. If they tell me, look, it's falling apart, needs a whole lot of stuff, I know I'm closer to 50. So I'm gauging where do I need to be based off of the questions that I'm asking them. So now that I can gauge, and let's just say that I land that this is probably going to be around $70,000. They're asking 140. So the first question that I'm going to ask them is, what's the best that you can do if I paid you all cash and could settle quickly? I want them to move off of that 140. I need for them to move off of that 140 in order for our conversation to continue. If they sit there and they say, well, if you could pay me cash and you could settle quickly, I'd probably take 120,000. I want you to first note this. When they do that and they move and they say, well, the best I could do is 120, they can always do better than that. They're always jockeying for position. They're trying to negotiate also. And so they're never going to tell you their best price. But when I hear them say that and they move from 140 to 120, I typically respond this way. I say, well, we're moving in the right direction, but we're not quite where we need to be yet. And are you sure that that's the best that you can do? And I try to get them to come down further. I don't ever make an offer to the person on the phone. Instead, I do what I refer to as the suggestive offers. By suggesting offers, I am just basically saying, okay, we're moving in the right direction. Can you do any better? I'm letting them know that we're moving in that direction. I'm suggesting that we're getting there, but we're not there yet. What's the best that you can do? And so I'm trying to get them to give me another number. After I've gotten them to a point, and we're still not at the 70, but they haven't, we're not there and I can't get them to give me anything else, I now start making other suggestions. I say, listen, let me ask you this. Not that long ago, I bought a house just a couple of blocks away from you in the same neighborhood. I bought it for $60,000. It needed quite a bit of work. It sounds like it's probably close to about the amount of work that your house needs. If that was the best offer that you could get, is that something that you would entertain? Now, I want you to pay close attention to what I just said. I did not make them an offer of $60,000. Instead, I suggested that if the best offer anybody brings you is only $60,000, would you entertain that? I want to feel them out. I didn't offend them by saying I'm only going to give you 60. I said if it's the best offer that you could get, would you do that? And that is now going to get some feedback from them. They're now going to respond with, well, if that's the best I could get, or no way, I would never sell it for that. And if they say no way, I'm going to continue to keep on suggesting and saying, well, but what are you going to do? If there's nobody there to give you your 100 and something, what are you going to do? If the best offer, if you've had every investor in town come on out, and the best offer you got was $60,000 or $70,000, are you gonna fix it up yourself? Are you just gonna sit on it? What will you do? And even if you have never done a deal in that neighborhood yourself, and you don't have your own deal to use as an example, by doing research, you can see what other investors have paid in that neighborhood, and you can say, I can tell you right now that I've been sitting here, I've been doing my research. Investors are typically paying $60,000 to $70,000 for homes that need work in your neighborhood. If that's the best you can do, are you willing to sell it for that? And you're doing a suggestive sell. You're never actually getting or making them an offer that will upset them. Prep them, get them prepared for a lower offer by letting them know this is what investors are paying in this neighborhood. They're not paying $100,000, but they're paying $60,000 to $70,000. And if that was the best offer that came in, would you be willing to accept it? And when you can do that with them, and eventually you're going to have people who say, well, if that's the best that I can do, yeah, I guess that I would be willing to take it. Then I want to take on a different posture. I have now gotten them down into my range. I've narrowed my 50 to 100 down to around 70, and as soon as I get them to the point where it looks like they're coming close and we might have a deal, I'll ask them, so let me ask you this. If I did come on out tomorrow and I wrote you an offer for $70,000, is that something that you would accept? I'm basically saying if, then. I didn't say I'm going to come on out and make you an offer for $70,000. So if they say yes, I would take it. If you came on out and you made me that offer, I would take it. The next thing I'm going to say is this. If everything that you have told me is true, then I'm prepared to buy your house for $70,000. If I come on out and I find out that your house needs more work or there's something else, I'm leaving the door open to renegotiate that $70,000 price. But I'm basically telling them, if everything that you have told me is true, then you can be sure that I'm going to give you $70,000 to your house. We're going to make this problem go away for you. And that's the way that I handle the suggestive selling. I never ever make an offer to them on the phone, but instead I just keep making suggestions, trying to get them closer to the number that I need for them to be at. And I'm doing everything I can to get them into that range of where I need to be. I know it's a $50,000 to $100,000 neighborhood. And then I try to narrow that down. 50 to 100 is what I need to pay in order to be able to sell it for around 150. There are some variations, and I can figure all of that out later. But the bottom line is 120 doesn't work. And as long as they're stuck on 120, I'm not going out there to look at that house. They have to come in between 50 and 100 before I get in my car and drive out there to take a look and see what's there. There's not enough motivation at 120 to make it worth my while. So these are some skills that you want to be able to pick up on the phone. You're going to spend a whole lot of time looking at houses if you just think that you got to look at it before you can begin to make those offers. You don't want to do that. The indirect offers, and this is like through the MLS or something like that, where I'm not dealing directly with the seller. This is all about just making offers, making a lot of offers. In this case, you have to make offers in order to engage them to get the conversation going. If I'm dealing directly with the seller, I'm suggesting and not making offers, but indirectly, they're not going to even deal with me until I make an offer, so I have to make them. And I make a lot of offers. Now, here's a comment that I would like to go ahead and touch upon. When I'm making a lot of offers, as an example, I might have my real estate agent give me 30 listings that came up in my target areas. Here's 30 new listings, Steve. What do you want to do? And I want to just maybe use yourself as an example, and the real estate agent gives you 30 listings, the same 30 listings that I just got. I have seen this happen over and over again. You're going to get those 30 listings, and you're going to start to go through those 30 listings, and you're going to begin to sort of narrow it down, and you may call up the real estate agent and say, I'd like to go on out and look at these 3, 4, 5 houses. I want to go look at them. And so the real estate agent's going to go schedule showings for you to go see those 3 to 5 houses. You're going to go look at those houses, and then after spending some time there, you're going to narrow it down and say, okay, here's the 1 or 2 that I want to make an offer on, and you're going to go and make those 1 or 2 offers. You'll spend quite a bit of time going through it, looking at all of them, and then you make 1 or 2 offers. And as we already know, that the majority of these offers are going to be turned down. We're not going to get them, and we're going to hear no. Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to take all 30 of those offers, and I'm going to make offers on all 30 of those houses, and I might offer on more houses other than those 30 and try to get 35 offers in. I'm going to find other ones to make offers on, but I'm going to make a ton of offers. And my offers are going to be based off of my knowledge of the neighborhood. I know what that range is. Let's say 50 to 100,000, and it's the same $150,000 neighborhood. I am going to take whatever information I have, whether it's pictures from the MLS or any indication like, oh, it has a new furnace or needs total rehab, or I'm going to take the information that I have and try to determine where I need to be. They're going to have their house listed at a price that more than likely is much more than what I can pay. It's just the way it is. I shared with you earlier that we need to create the deals. And so when they're listing their house and it's more than what I can pay, I'm not going to go out and look at it to see what's wrong with it. I need to know that they're motivated. So I make just low offers on all of those houses. And I'm fishing for motivation. I want you to just keep that in mind. I get those 30 listings. I make offers on every single one of them, sight unseen. I never go out to the house to see it. It's not worth me going to see it yet because the sellers are just asking too much. It's not a deal for me. So the first thing that I need to do is see, are they motivated? The only way for me to discover that is to make an offer. So I make all these sight unseen offers and I fish for counter offers. Again, that $150,000 neighborhood, I want to be 50 to 100. If I make an offer and I'm down at 60 and they counter and they come down into my 50 to 100 range, let's say they counter at 80. Okay, now I'm interested. Now I might actually get in my car and go look at the house to see what's there because they showed me that they're motivated. But if they were asking 119.9 and I offer 60 and they counter at 118, I don't go look at it. If anything, I'm just going to do another counter offer to see if they'll come down. But I'm not going to spend 1 minute of my time discovering that I can only pay $80,000 for this house and they're stuck at 118. It's not worth me going to look at it, so I don't bother with it. I use this strategy to make counter offers. Now, and to fish for those counter offers. So what's happening here is I'm making a lot of offers. I have no idea out of those 30 listings that I just got. I don't know who the motivated seller is, if there's any in the bunch. But the way for me to figure out who the motivated seller is, ultimately, remember, that's what I'm looking for. I make offers on all of them to see who bites. You, on the other hand, if you sit there and you narrow it down to the ones that you think that you want, and then you go look at some and then you make 1 or 2 offers, you're trying to buy a house. You're getting emotional. I need the motivated seller. So I make offers on all of them to find out who the motivated seller is so that I know where to spend my time. You probably eliminated the motivated seller going through your process because you only made a couple of offers. There were 28 others, and one of them was more likely that one of those was the motivated seller versus the couple that you picked to make offers on. So in the indirect approach, when you're dealing with these kinds of situations, you want to just make a lot of offers. Let somebody else do the legwork, fish for the motivation, and so a real estate agent can sit there and submit all kinds of offers. You can be taxing on your real estate agent when you're doing this, so my recommendation is to streamline that process as much as you can. One of the things that I did was I had pre-filled out contracts, and so my agent only had to put in the name of my company. Well, let me take that back. That was already filled out. They only had to put in the address and the price. They just hand wrote those in, sent off the offers, and they could just do them all day long. But everything else, my terms were always the same, and I made that process very simple so that my agents could submit 30 offers for me in an hour or an hour and a half. Otherwise, it can take a very long time to prepare a contract. So we made it very, very simple for them. So these two different approaches, the direct approach, you want to make suggestive offers. Don't take somebody who you're on the phone with who just tells you they want 140 and then tell them you'll give them 60. It's only going to make them angry. It's not going to get you anywhere. Instead, engage them in a conversation. Throw suggestions out there. Say, the other investors have only been paying 60 to 70 for fixer-uppers in your neighborhood. If that's all that you could get, would you entertain that? And you're starting to prepare them for a lower offer by doing that without offending them and telling them that that's all you're going to give them. But on the indirect side, where you're dealing with listed properties and things like that, you need to just put your offers out there and get a lot of them out there, and then you fish for the counter offers to find out who the motivated sellers are. That is when you begin to spend some more time digging deeper into those properties. So fish out the motivation before you go and see them. Now, I want to just go ahead and touch upon another situation here. Let's say that they are listed properties and your agent just gives you 30 new ones, and that same $150,000 neighborhood, there's a property that comes out listed for $35,000. Now, in that particular case, you're not going to go ahead and make a lower offer. I mean, they're already pricing this house right. It's probably a really sweet deal. I mean, the first thing that's going to come to my mind is, what is wrong with this house? Is it even there anymore? Is there anything to even work with? But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call up my real estate agent. I'm going to say, get in my offer on that house right now. In fact, I want you to offer a little bit above list price. I'm driving out right now to make sure the house is standing, but get it out there and let's get this offer in right away. I mean, I'm going to go look at it. They're already showing me that they're motivated, and now I just want to make sure it's there. I'm going to offer a little above list price because the whole world knows about this property, and if I just offer list price, I'm going to get beat out by somebody. I might still get beat out even with going above list price, but I'm going to get my offer in and try to get in the running to get this property. And so when they come in with a really low price already, I gotta put my best foot forward. I gotta move quick and get that offer in and try to be the first at the table and hopefully get that deal closed before too many people even find out about it. So you take on a different strategy. If a house is listed and say it's at $79,900, they're already in the sweet spot. They've given me an indication that they're motivated. I'm not necessarily going to make my offer right away, but I'm going to get in my car and go look at that one right away because they're already in the sweet spot. It might be a house that I can only pay $50,000 for. I might be able to pay full price. The reason I'm not going to make an offer on that one right away, I don't want to offer 50 and then have somebody else who went out and looked at it and realized it was a great deal at $79,900 and they paid $79,900 and beat me out. I'm going to go look at that. The motivation is already there. So I'm going to jump in my car. I'm going to go drive out there. I'm going to look at this property, and if I can pay $79,900, I'm paying them full price and locking that thing down as quickly as I can. But I might get there and realize this one's a full-blown rehab. I do got to get it for less, and then I'll offer less. But I'm not wasting my time. They have already demonstrated to me by their list price that they are motivated. So I'm going to spend some more time on it. What I want to encourage you is to not become a motivated buyer. We are looking for motivated sellers, and sometimes you're making your offers and you're getting close, but you're not quite where you need to be. If you are really confident in your numbers, stick with them. Stick with your numbers. Don't start paying more and become a motivated buyer. Very, very few exceptions to that rule. And if somebody is just trying to get their feet wet and trying to get some experience, there's times people are willing to pay a little more just to get the ball rolling and to get things started. But as a matter of practice, as you start to build your business, you really need to stick to your numbers. Don't get motivated just trying to beat somebody out to get a deal. Make sure your numbers work. If the numbers don't work, it's going to hurt you in the long run. Um, Once you do start marketing and you're doing marketing, don't stop the momentum. The tendency that a lot of people have to do is all of a sudden their marketing starts working for them and they pick up some houses. Well, at the time of picking up houses, they want to shut off the marketing machine. They don't want the phone ringing anymore. And that's the worst thing that you can do. You want to keep the marketing machine consistent. Keep it going. You can just begin to adjust your criteria, paying a little bit less because you really don't need more, but still taking those calls. You don't want to miss out on that really good deal, but more importantly, you don't want to kill your momentum. If you have been marketing and all of a sudden your phone starts ringing and then you stop the marketing, everything that it took to get it up and running the first time, you've got to do it all over again later. It doesn't produce immediately. It takes some time to build up the momentum. So you want to keep it going. Keep the momentum rolling. On 2 occasions in my career, I bought 9 houses in one day, had 9 offers accepted. And the first time I did it, that's when I had my partner in the first 2 years of the business. And I got pretty excited. I just picked up 9 houses. I was out looking for more and making more offers. And he said to me, Steve, what are you doing? We just bought 9 houses today. We don't need any more. And I said, we've got momentum going right now. I'm not going to back down. We're going to make a killing on those 9 houses. I want more. I'm on a hot streak. Don't get in my way. Don't stop me. And he had the idea that he wanted to shut off the marketing machine. And I'm thinking, no way. This is working for us right now. I'm fully confident in those 9 houses. I'm going to make a lot more money. And if I can keep this streak going, I want to pick up more houses. And so keep the momentum going. If you're doing the right thing and you're paying the right prices, you don't have a problem. There's always somebody who will buy those houses for you. Plenty of people are looking for deals, and if you're constantly putting deals with great numbers under contract, there's always going to be somebody who will pick those deals up and take them off of your hands. So one of the things, when you're selling, negotiating is going to be a very similar thing. I tend not to play around with my prices too much. I like to just accept full price for my properties. I don't like taking less. I have a reputation in town that don't even bother offering less on Steve's houses because he doesn't budge. And I do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, my houses are worth what I'm asking. I don't want to set a precedent that it's okay to start negotiating me down. But more importantly, I just sold the same house to somebody else for $280,000. I don't want to sell it to you for $275 because I'm just hurting the last person who bought from me. And I'll use that reasoning with some of the people when they make me a lower offer and say, do you want me to sell the next one to the next person for less than I'm selling it to you for and kill your values? And then they get it. They tend not to play with that. But they also know that I'm not going to budge on my prices. But they still try. I can't fault them for trying. But one strategy that I like to do is I like to wait and take my time, especially when I know other people are looking at the house. People like to get a response to their offers pretty quickly, and I don't respond that quickly. I don't, even real estate agents will say, all right, they're waiting. You got to get back to them. You got to get back to them. And I'm like, well, I'll take my time. They gave us a couple of days, and I'm going to take every bit of those couple of days. And here's the reason why. I want them to become really solid in the fact that they want this house. That I don't want somebody who's wavering. And when I sit there and I make them wait, that sometimes just furthers their resolve that I want this house. I have literally played that waiting game where people have contacted us and raised their offer thinking that I was considering other offers. And I knew for sure then at that point that they just sat here and now offered me above list price and they weren't even competing against anybody. But because I was making them wait for their answer, they started thinking, we better offer more. He's not accepting it just yet. And I just knew in the midst of doing that they were furthering their resolve that I want this house. I'm not letting anybody get in the way. And I don't like having wishy-washy people, that I'm signing contracts with because I don't want my deals to fall apart. So I wait, I'm patient. I don't just respond right away when somebody does make an offer. If they said that they want a response within a couple days, I'll take that whole 2 days to respond to them. If I do know that there are other offers coming in, I'm certainly going to wait, or even other people looking at it, I'm certainly going to wait until we get some feedback. I'm going to communicate that to them and let them know that, hey, we've got other parties looking. I'm not going to respond to your offer until we've gotten feedback from them. And that makes them, at that point, sometimes say, well, what do we need to do to get it? and there might be some little things in their contract that I just want them to firm up and to make it a stronger deal. And so I don't have any problem with doing that to make sure that I'm getting the best contract that I can get. So I want to encourage you to do that also. So basically, I want to just revisit going back to indirect and the direct negotiations with people. The key is motivated sellers. And so from the indirect and making offers on the MLS and dealing with real estate agents, we're fishing for motivation. We need to make sure we're getting into that sweet spot. You need to know your values, know what the sweet spot is for a particular neighborhood of where you need to be, and just make offers in that range, trying to see who is going to bite, who's coming into that range. Keep in mind, when people are asking a lot more and they come down to that low price, or a lower price, the only person in the world who knows that they just did that is you. You don't have a lot of people competing with you at that lower price. At those lower prices, those were times when I could call up other investors and say, what do you think? Would you be willing to buy this house for this, X amount of dollars if I could get it for you? And I could get a feel from other people during that counteroffer stage as to how much I could really pay for that property. But no one else knows that because it's still listed at the high price. The only person who knows about the counter is you, because you made the offer. And this is when you begin to create good deals. On the indirect side of things, keep in mind that suggestive offers. Don't offend people by just coming in with low offers. Suggest it, prepare them for it, get their numbers down, but again, you're shooting for that sweet spot before you spend a lot of time on that house. You don't want to go out looking at houses that you have no chance of buying because the sellers want too much. The only time you want to get in your car and actually spend time at a house is when you already know that they're showing their motivation and they're in that sweet spot where you need to be. So make the most of your negotiating. It's the end of this session. We'll see you again in another.